call this meeting of the Alvin Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Would you please rise with us for the invocation given by Ms. Tanini tonight and remain standing for the pledge.
Heavenly Father, as we gather together this evening, we are grateful for the opportunity that we have to serve the students and community of Alvin ISD. We pray for your blessings to be with those within our district who may stand in need of thy love and comfort. We are grateful for the opportunity we have tonight to showcase and show appreciation for those students who are being recognized for their talents and their gifts and their accomplishments. We pray that as we conduct the business of this meeting, that we may do so in a manner that's pleasing unto thee and that will most greatly benefit the students in the community of Alvin ISD. We love thee and are grateful for the many rich blessings that we enjoy each day. And we pray for these things in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor
The Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to.
Thank you, Ms. Tanini, for leading us in the invocation. On the agenda next would be the introduction of greeters, and then I think follow after that is commendations. Mr. Combs?
Yes, ma'am. This evening we have with us a few Alvin High School student athletes who recently received athletic scholarships to go to college and represent Alvin High School in their future pursuits. And so we would like to recognize the four that are with us here tonight. Say congratulations. And we're going to start off with Trace, and we're going to allow them to introduce themselves, tell us where they'll be going to college, and if they'd like to share any information about their scholarship. All right, Trace, start us off.
Hi, I'm Trace Arnell, and I received a football scholarship to the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor.
Hi, I'm Erin Webster. I received a scholarship to play soccer at the university at Ouachita Baptist University in Arkansas.
Hi, I'm Chloe Holden, and I received a full scholarship to Southeastern Louisiana for volleyball. Hi, I'm Taylor Horsfall. I received a full ride volleyball scholarship, and yeah, I'm really excited. I'm sorry, it's to the University of Tulsa in Oklahoma.
All right. Of course, we have to get their photo to recognize this occasion tonight. And moms, dads, parents, aunts, uncles, we will wait for you to get the perfect photo if you need to, so don't be shy. And that holds true during the commendations section as well. All right, guys, thank you very much, and congratulations. Thank you, Tracy. All right, first up for our commendations, we have McKaylee Huggins, who is a fourth grader at E.C. Mason Elementary. And McKaylee recently received a full scholarship valued at $1,000 to attend space camp at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center this summer in Huntsville, Alabama. So congratulations, McKaylee. All right, we're excited for next year's science fair project that involves rockets, so we'll come by to check that out. Next, we have student Emmy Chang from EC Mason, second grader, who recently received an award at the National Abydos Conference. She won first place in the Abydos Dana K. Carter Student Writing Contest. And she's under the instruction of teacher Kathy Kibbert, and Emma won the pre-K second grade poetry category for her beautiful piece, A Beautiful Fall Afternoon. Congratulations, Emmy. A nationally recognized writer with us tonight. All right, next we have students from the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo Art Show. Alvin ISD students shined in the art contest. Thousands of pieces were judged, and numerous Alvin ISD students received recognition. First, we have Anna Chemplail, 11th grader from Manville High School, whose piece of art sold for $10,000. And then next we have Laura Dennison, an 11th grader from Manville High School, whose art sold for $18,000. She has the flu, and when you have $28,000 to spend between the two of them, I guess they found something fun to do. But we will make sure to extend congratulations, their commendations.
Hey, Daniel, if you've never been to that auction, I would recommend you go. They all sit around with these big sticks, and they pound the floor until the price goes higher. And so it's really a raucous crowd, and it was lots of fun that day.
That's great. It's outstanding art, too.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable. Next, we have Cloville Napata, 12th grader from Manville High School, who received the Glassell Scholarship for her artwork during the contest. Is she here? Nope. How about Jessica Moulton from Nolan Ryan Junior High? Jessica? No, also a scholarship winner. So we will make sure to get their commendations to them for their outstanding artwork. And finally this evening, we have Imran Sheikh, 3rd grader at Glen York Elementary, who was selected to have artwork showcased at the Texas Art Education Association's Youth Art Month State Capitol exhibit, which is allowing student work from across the state to be shared in Austin. Imran, is he here? No? All right, well, we'll make sure to get their commendations to them. We have one additional recognition that we would like to make this evening. This is a bit of a surprise to our trustees, but Miss Marianne has something for each of you. And Congressman Pete Olson, who is a congressman for this congressional district, United States Congressional District, has entered something into the official 114th congressional record on behalf of our trustees. Each of you have a representation of this, but if you'll allow me to share the words from Mr. Olson and what he shared. I rise today to recognize the hardworking school board members of the Alvin Independent School District. Our school board members of Alvin ISD in the 22nd Congressional District of Texas play a critical role in the success of our schools. Our district is the most diverse and fastest growing congressional district in America, due largely in part to the hardworking and caring educators and school board members that dedicate their time and energy on our schools, ensuring that our children can achieve whatever they set their mind to. Our board members were elected to be hired to be caretakers of the American dream. Any child can be anything they want if they receive the education that will give them necessary tools to achieve the dream. Our schools are stronger because of them and embrace the challenge. On behalf of the 22nd Congressional District of Texas, thank you again to Alvin ISD for being superheroes in developing our leaders. Congratulations.
Surprise. That was a wonderful surprise. Thank you very much. And y'all keep good surprises down there. All right, then. So next on the agenda, we will have two presentations. The first one is the enrollment forecast, and then the second will be the Memorial Stadium Steering Committee. So let's start with the enrollment forecast.
Pat?
Thank you, Board. Tonight we have with us Bob Templeton with Templeton Demographics. He's here twice a year, as you know, to give us an update on the enrollment and growth here in Alvin ISD and the economic forecast. And so I'm going to turn it over to Bob and let him take off with it.
Thank you, Pat. Good evening, Board President, members of the Board, Superintendent Gilchrist. It's very good to be with you tonight. Tonight, I will briefly touch on the economic conditions that we're experiencing across the state. We'll also talk about the housing market, what we're seeing with new home construction, and then we'll get to the enrollment projections. Well, as you're well aware, the state's economy is suffering a little bit of duress due to a change in the oil price. Energy is causing a little bit of a slowdown across the state, and specifically the Houston region has seen a slowdown in job growth. In fact, the unemployment rate in Houston has kind of crept up just a little bit. The state's unemployment rate's at 4.4, and the Houston MSA is at 4.8. The city of Alvin's also at 4.8. So we have seen a little bit of change in the unemployment rates related to the Houston and Alvin areas. Annual job growth has also slowed. So we were doing about 100,000 jobs a year just a couple of years ago. Now we're doing about 26,000 jobs. So we're still growing jobs. It's just at a much slower rate. A lot of that job growth is related to construction. So the construction part of the job growth is still very strong. There's very strong construction taking place in the Alvin surrounding area, the Lake Jackson area, the Clear Creek, Houston. That southern part of the Houston area is still experiencing very strong construction job growth. The housing market has slowed down just a little bit across Houston, but we have not seen a slowdown in the Alvin area. So Alvin new housing is continuing to go at a very strong pace. I wanted to touch just a little bit on the oil situation. As you're aware, the drop in oil began in 2014. So oil slowed down in 2014 and it dropped significantly. We are starting to see some signs that it's starting to creep up a little bit. It's above about $40 a barrel right now, but the global production is one of the challenges because global production is still very strong with Iraq producing, coming back into the global production. And so there is talk that we could start to see some cooperation globally with an effort to try to lessen the production. But right now in the United States, we are seeing a slowdown in production. It's primarily in the shale oil fields. But we are expecting that we could see these lower oil prices for another 1.5 to 2 years. So this could get prolonged into 2016, 2017. With that said, though, when we look at Brazoria County is experiencing some huge investment in infrastructure related to the chemical, the natural gas. So there's very large construction projects that are taking place. In fact, currently there's about $20.5 billion is being invested into petrochemical plants along the Gulf Coast, with the majority set to come online in 2017. The county, Brazoria County, had an 18.8% year-over-year rise in single-family permits ending in 2015. County sales tax are up, and the city is also experiencing some very strong retail growth in the city of Alvin. Another thing that we're starting to watch is the Grand Parkway. So the expansion of the Grand Parkway is going to continue to open up the Alvin School District in terms of transportation logistics to get around the city of Houston. So here's a general timeline for when we could expect. They're working on design and right-of-way acquisition, which could begin in 2016. Construction could start in 2017, with the roadway opening to traffic in 2020. So the Alvin School District is going to continue to be a fast-growing, job-producing, family-growing area because we're going to continue to have job growth in this area, and then when they open up those roadways, it's going to continue to make it more accessible to get to other parts of the Houston Metroplex. When we look at new home construction, I mentioned across Houston, we have seen a slowdown. But in Alvin ISD, we're building over 1,000 homes a year. In fact, we started 1,052 in 2015. Our annual closings were right at 975. We have 2,011 vacant developed lots. They're on the ground, ready for builders to build. We have 11,820 future lots. Those are lots that are preliminarily planned. Those are lots that will be coming down the road, but you can see the developers are continuing to work to bring additional lots to the Alvin School District. Here's a chart and graph of the starts and closings by quarter, And what I'll point out is in 2015, in the fourth quarter, we started 257 homes. And that's the highest number that we've ever started in the school district in the fourth quarter. Typically, the fourth quarter is one of your slower quarters. We typically see the first quarter and the fourth quarter as slower quarters. The second and third quarters, that's the spring and summer, that's a lot of times the highest number of starts and closings in the school district, and that happens all over the country, but it's those families that want to move over the summer. So we had that surge in the fourth quarter, and we do believe that the 2016 is easily going to be in position to produce over 1,000 new homes again in 2016. Here's a map to kind of illustrate where the most activity is taking place. This is the top 10. We show you the top 10 because typically it represents about 90% of all of your activity can be found in these top 10 subdivisions. You'll also notice it's in the western portion of the school district. Currently, Sterling Lakes is the number one with 148 annual closings, but Savannah is right close behind. It's second with 145, South Lake 139, and Southern Trails had 105. So you've got 4 subdivisions that are producing over 100 homes annually. We also are tracking where the vacant developed lots are, because where the lots are is where they're going to build the homes. And here's the top 10 subdivisions for vacant developed lots. So we've got some new ones that are showing up on this list now. Meridiana, they've got 441. They have 0 annual closings, but that number is going to change drastically in the next couple of quarters. So Meridiana is going to be experiencing significant numbers of homes closed in 2016. So in the top 10 for vacant developed lots, that represents 93% of all of your vacant lots can be found in these top 10. And then future lots, these are the areas that are going to be building down the road. And you'll notice we've got about 90% of the future lots are found in these top 10. There again, Meridiana is number one. They've got 5,063 future lots. So the elementary school that's opening down there, it is in the middle of what's going to be very similar to Shadow Creek Ranch, but it may be another year or two before we see those huge numbers coming out of Meridiana. And then Savannah's got almost 1,300 futures, but just in the top 10, we've got over 10,500 future lots. You'll also notice we're starting to see some preliminarily platted land, some stuff that's taking place in Alvin proper. I've got some slides that'll illustrate some of that in just a little bit. Now here's taking that housing information, putting it in a table form so that you can see the new home activity based on annual starts, annual closings, under construction, vacant developed lots, and future lots. I know there's a lot of information in this table, but the things that I want to point out, the yellow is the number one for that category. So based on annual starts, Meridiana is currently, that's the Meridiana attendance zone, is producing 192 annual starts. And then number 2 is Savannah Lakes with 163. Third is Duke, they're doing 155. And then you've got York with 150. So you've got 4 that are producing, large numbers of annual starts. Now here's just an overview map, just to kind of give you another picture of how the housing is impacting the school district. Those green are active subdivisions, and there's about 2,000 lots within those green developments. And then the yellow are the futures. And you'll notice that large future one right down here, this is the one that's going to be coming online. It's going to be several years down the road. But we are starting to see some very large tracts of land that they're going to be working that'll be down the way. It'll likely kind of tie in with the Grand Parkway. So as that Grand Parkway works its way around the school district, that Grand Parkway is going to make that land a lot more accessible to get around into the greater Houston area. Here's Meridiana. It's a total of about 5,400 lots. They did start their model homes in January. They have 115 lots in sections 3 and 7, which were approved in January. They're telling us they're hoping to build about 200 homes a year. So they may be short of that in 2016, but they will likely be coming on strong in the next several quarters. Pomona, that's up to the north of there a little bit. It's a Hillwood development. It's got some multifamily, some townhomes, it's some mixed use in there, but it's about 1,752 single family lots. It is currently split between the Duke and Jeter attendance zones. They're also telling us they're hoping to build about 190 homes a year starting in 2016. Sierra Vista, it's just to the south of Sterling Lakes. It's a future development. It's almost 900 total lots. They're anticipating that phase 1 with 242 lots could be delivered in the third quarter of 2017. So therefore, it's going to be impacting the district more than likely about 2018, 2019, when we would see Sierra Vista impact the school district. They're also hoping to build about 180 homes a year. One of the other things that's happening is the Lake Jackson area is experiencing significant job growth, Dow Chemical, and so, but what's happening is there's really not any housing in the Lake Jackson area. And so we work with the Brazosport ISD, and when we look at their vacant developed lots and their future, there's really not much going on. That's because folks that are working in Lake Jackson, they're choosing to live in Alvin ISD, and that's where these developments along 288, it's very easy to get down into Lake Jackson right now. So that's what's making these areas along 288 so attractive. Now here's this area that's in the southern part of the district that's a little bit south of the city of Alvin. It's about 5,400 acres. So you can just, it's going to be a huge number of lots eventually. The lot count is unknown at this time because they really haven't gone through the platting process. But as we continue to track this, as soon as we get preliminary plat information, we'll update the information to give you those lot counts. But the reality is this is probably going to be in the neighborhood of several thousand homes. And so they'll probably have to develop in a MUD, which is a municipal utility district, and then there'll be infrastructure that'll have to be developed. So it's going to be several years down the road, but we wanted to get that on the radar screen just so that you could be aware of it. Now there is some multifamily that's taking place. So this multifamily that we're showing you right now is in the Wilder attendance zone. It's the Broadstone at Shadow Creek Ranch. It's 382 units. The construction should be completed this summer. First units will begin leasing. It's in the Wilder zone, and then just to the south of that complex is Avion, Shadow Creek Ranch, 276 units. Construction should be completed this spring and April, and it'll also begin leasing this summer. Right now, those are market rate apartments, so they will have a yield that's similar to the units around. So we are showing you the apartment complexes that are in the district right now and what those yields are. And the yellow apartment complexes are yielding between 0.25 and 0.51 students per unit. The green are yielding below 0.25. So you can see in that area, we've got some that are yielding in that yellow category. We also wanted you to see the total picture of how many kids are in apartment units. In 2014, we had roughly 1,515 students located in 5,374 units. So overall, the district's yielding about 0.28 per complex or per unit. In 2015, this year, we also geocoded the students, and we had 1,584. So we have seen a little bit of an increase in the yield in those multifamily units. And this is just another way to look at the data. We thought we'd also show you the yields by the year built of the complex. One of the things that we are starting to see across the state of Texas is the apartment yields are going up slightly because new home construction is getting so expensive that it's causing the younger families to have to go into multifamily because the home prices are so high. And so I suspect we're seeing some of that in the Alvin School District as well. We geocode your students twice a year so we can study this impact in the fall and in the spring. This is also looking at that geocoded information. Now we've got 3 years, so you can see over the last 3 years what's happening between your single family, multifamily. We're also showing you what's going on in your manufactured housing. But at this past fall, we had 22,134 students in the district. We had 363 students coming from outside the district. Most of those are employees' kids. We had 229 that are unmatched. Most of those are due to the brand new streets that are so new they haven't showed up in our street database yet. But you can see that's a less than 1% that's not geocoded. We've got about 1,618 total in multifamily. So about 7.5% of your students are in multifamily. We've got 18,410 students that live in single family, which that represents about 85.5% of your students live in single family. Just kind of FYI, just to give you the kind of the makeup of where your kids live. Now here's looking at the enrollment projections at the grade level. This past fall, we had 22,158 students. You grew almost 1,300 students, which puts you at 6.2. We have slowed down your forecast just a little bit. I really think these numbers are realistic based on the amount of new home construction that's taking place. We are forecasting that next year's enrollment could be 23,334 students, which would put you at 5.3% growth. In 5 years, you're looking at 6,087 additional students to your school district, which would put your enrollment at 28,245. In 10 years, that's 13,286 students added to the school district, which would put your enrollment at 35,444. Here's looking at your campus projections. We have built in the opening of the Meridiana Elementary School next year and the 2 elementaries that will be opening the following year. So this is showing you those opening of those elementary schools that will take place next year and also in 2017. So you'll notice that in 2017, we have seen a little bit of a relief at Merrick. We've also seen relief at Savannah Lakes. We've seen relief at Wilder, at Duke, and we've seen in the opening of Elementary 17 and Elementary 18, which would open with approximately 653 students in Elementary 17, and then Elementary 18 would open at 468. Meridiana could open with about 678. Now there again, there could be some program adjustments or some transferring that could cause those numbers to shift a little bit. At the secondary level, you'll notice that we've got about 4,870 students in the junior highs, and by 2017, Manville Junior High would be exceeding its capacity. Ryan Junior High is right at its capacity next year, and then it would exceed the capacity also in 2017. And by 2019, 4 junior highs would be over capacity. And at the high school level, Alvin High School is currently just right at its capacity, and then it goes over just slightly in 2016, and then 2017 it goes over with a little bit more. This forecast does include the opening of Shadow Creek High School next year, and it is assuming they open with 9, 10, 11. Now that may change a little bit as the transfers, the grandfathers, get worked out as well. I'll summarize, then we can have some discussion and answer questions. In 2015, Brazoria County had an 18% year-over-year rise in new home permits. So the housing market in Brazoria County and in Alvin has not seen a slowdown related to the change in the energy piece of the economy. Alvin ISD started more than 1,000 new homes in 2015. We do anticipate that we're going to continue to see that kind of housing growth again in 2016. Meridiana, Savannah Lakes, Duke, those elementary zones accounted for roughly half of all of the new home activity in the Alvin School District. Meridiana Elementary is anticipated to open in 2016 with about 670 students, and then it could enroll about 800 students by 2017. Fall of 2016 enrollment growth is about 5.3%, which is about 1,176 new students to the district. Fall of 2016 enrollment would be 23,334. 5-year, we're looking at about 6,087 additional students, and in 10 years, we're looking at 13,286 additional students. Be happy to go back and answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Templeton. Does the board have any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Templeton, can we go back to slide number 4? What's wrong with this? So bullet point number 7, I believe, the last one, is that located exactly, or is it located in the city of Alvin
I believe
proper?
it is.
Okay. And then regarding bullet point number 6, was there not anything noteworthy that commercial permits were taken out in Manville, Iowa Colony, West Pearland, inside Alvin ISD?
I'm not sure if our research wasn't able to get that information, but I can follow up to find out if there was additional information from Manville and Pearland. I do know there was significant retail development in the Pearland portion of the Alvin School District.
Right, I was just curious as to why that wouldn't have been
I'm sure it
accounted
was,
for.
I suspect our research was just trying to get the highlights,
Okay.
and that's what jumped out at them was what took place in Alvin.
Okay,
I'll make sure that we equally represent the different cities when we do these slides in the
Okay.
future.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you very much. Oh, do you have something?
So interesting thing happened today or yesterday, that they have downgraded Saudi Arabia's credit rating, that Fitch did. And that's kind of the quickest that's ever happened in an oil crunch. And so be interesting to see what your thoughts are on that. As soon as, how it works, when they downgrade their credit rating, all of a sudden oil production becomes a lot more important in a different part of the world than it is here. So do you see the speed of that as changing the economic impact?
Well, I will say globally, these oil problems are much more of a significant impact for other countries than it is for us, because our economy is so diverse, whereas in a lot of these other countries, that is the majority of their economy. And I've read somewhere that Texas energy is really about anywhere from 10 to 15% of our state's economy. I've even read some that said as low as 5 to 7%. So I guess I'll have to come back to you with how that's, I don't know that I can estimate what Saudi Arabia's credit rating is going to do to our economy, but I will say this. It appears that some of the petrochemical industries are benefiting from the lower oil prices, because a barrel of oil, a portion of that is not just used for gasoline, it's used for chemicals or plastics and other industries. And right now it appears that those industries along the Gulf Coast are benefiting, which is why we're seeing that huge expansion in Dow Chemical and Lake Jackson. Some of those industries are benefiting during this period. Consumers, we're benefiting because gas prices are continuing to stay relatively low. So a huge amount of money is being put back into the consumers' pockets because the gas prices have stayed relatively low for an extended period of time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
The next presentation is the Memorial Stadium Steering Committee.
Pat?
Yes, again, thank you. And with the 2015 bond election, we had a significant project for the area in and around and including Memorial Stadium and some other of the venues that are nearby. And so recently in February, we convened a citizens steering committee to evaluate and help us kick those projects off. As part of that, they looked at all the facilities in that area, including and expanding out to other sports and the campus and mobility across the campus. And so they bring to you tonight their evaluation from a lot of great information and communication that's happened over the last couple of months. So Bill Lewis, Bill Nelson, and Carl Gurgis are here tonight to represent that Citizen Steering Committee, and they want to present to you some of their findings.
Have our slideshow. Yes. Ready to go. Okay. Good evening. I'm first up tonight. On behalf of the committee, I wanted to thank the board for inviting us to participate in planning for the renovation of Alvin Memorial Stadium, as well as additional improvements to Alvin High School. I think the entire committee would agree it's been a great experience. We've learned a lot and hopefully have come up with a great plan to take the campus forward for future generations. On the clicker, is this right here? Okay. We didn't practice this. So. Which way does it go? technology. There you go. I wanted to put the slide of the committee members up there first. That's great. Hopefully I get everybody. We have got a lot of the committee members here. I want to recognize everybody. So everybody that was on the committee, please stand up and let everybody know you were. All right, great. But before we get started showing the plans for the future of Memorial Stadium, I wanted to take you back to 1946. The Great War was over. The center of Alvin was at the intersection of Seeley and Gordon Street. It was a thriving farming and dairy community with lots of local retail shops to support it. The city population from the 1940 census shows a population of 3,087 people. Way all across the town, on the edge of town, the school district had just completed the construction of its new football stadium, Alvin Memorial Stadium. Harry S. Truman was President of the United States. Carl told me there were a lot of great songs that came out in 1946. The Old Lamplighter by Sammy. Hey, you remember that one, Carl? Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow by Vaughn Monroe. Great tune. A loaf of bread cost 10 cents. A carton of eggs was 60 cents. Just talked about gas. It was 19 cents a gallon. The average price of a new car was around $1,200. Minimum wage was 40 cents an hour. And as I mentioned before, the district had just completed the stadium for a cost of $54,000 with a seating capacity of 5,400 people. So if you remember that census number I said a while ago, the whole town could sit on the home side for Friday night with plenty of room for the visitors on the other side. In 1968, 20 years after its initial construction, it was expanded to hold 7,400 people. The majority of those seats were added to the home side of the field. Now, the intent of my little trip down memory lane was hopefully not to completely bore you, but remind you of just how old the stadium actually is, and to remind you how little has been done to the stadium, especially on the visitor side, in the 70 years since it has been constructed. And so now it's time to come back to the future and introduce the athletic director for Alvin Community College, as well as the voice of Alvin football and a good friend, Bill Lewis, to give you the details on all the improvements the committee has come up with, and hopefully you guys will support. Thank you.
Good evening. Appreciate y'all having us out here. I missed the last meeting. I think that's why I'm here. I got elected. Live and learn. That is. The process chart is up right now. This was a really good group. I thought a lot of different interests. There wasn't just a focus on football or just a focus on baseball or the band or any other group that uses Memorial Stadium and that area around the high school. Every time we considered pros and cons of a different option, we heard from somebody else in the committee that had a totally different point of view, which is what a perfect committee should be like. I certainly learned a lot in terms of usage in some areas that I didn't have kids involved in. I've done almost 200 football games just from the high school, just from the home stadium. So I'm very familiar with that press box and the stadium. But the rest of it, it was a learning experience for me. And I felt like each week we got a little bit closer. You'll notice after the process chart, there's a committee sketch diagram. None of us are going to win the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. But we did that process of laying it out, writing it down, sketching in what we thought might work, comparing that to what others were doing at the same time. And each week the architects would take our ideas, bring that back, maybe present something we hadn't considered or incorporate what we had talked about. It was very much a give and take process, and one of the best examples of what a community committee can accomplish in my experience. There was a facilities tour for those that weren't familiar with the complex. I know Coach Bass took everyone on that so they could see the elements that needed to be worked on. The bond issue addresses a good portion of these. And I think when we first started looking at what the bond was going to deal with, the press box, sports lighting, visitor restroom and concession, those elements, we knew that was a given. Then we started thinking, well, as we go into this, how do we make the complex viable, just like the people that built the original stadium in '46, how do you get 70 years out of the complex? We praised their work when we were looking at it, and we wanted to have that same kind of vision, because this is not a district that's going to survive with one stadium. Clear Creek has a brand new fabulous stadium. Well, they've got 14 games in that stadium next year, 12 games in their existing stadium on the campus of Clear Creek. I envision Alvin ISD will be in that same environment where you're going to have lots of different people using it, lots of different high schools using this complex for a long, long time. Whether it finishes up at 7 high schools, 8 high schools, whatever the number is, you're going to have a lot of folks that need to be on the campus. A couple of the highlights. I'll try not to bore you to tears, but certainly stop me and ask if you have any questions. As we get into what we call the Group 1 projects, there's a couple of pages of those, and this deals with the yellow dotted line, which is all of the existing land that the high school and the district have. Of course, we are looking to replace the press box, make one that is ADA compliant, make the stadium ADA compliant, because we are not in that situation right now. Parking has been an issue on the visiting side now for several seasons. We've been lucky the last 4 years. We've played a lot of Pasadena schools. They don't bring a lot of fans to it. We've really seen the parking become an issue when Pearland came in or when Dawson was coming into play. Then all of a sudden people are parking on other streets and in front of houses. There's just not enough room. So that was one of the first things we wanted to address. We get there in a couple of different ways. One is visitor parking A, which is item C. Pat will point that out. That is to renovate that parking lot, put new lighting, new stripes, make it a viable parking lot, because that's as far down as people are parking right now. In addition to that, we look at putting lighting along the sidewalk that will take us from there all the way up to the visitors' ticket area, so that they'll feel safe, feel like they've, it's really not much further than you have to park and walk in a lot of stadiums. So we think that is a viable expansion of parking, because we can make that better. People have parked there already, but they've never felt really comfortable about it, and I think we can make that a good environment for them. As we move on down, one of the unique items to this is E, I believe, which is the Johnson Street parking lot. And Pat's going to point that out. That is in an open area of land right now, and that can be used not only for overflow parking for football, because we have walkways all the way to the stadium, but I think that's a great help to what goes on in Marguerite Edwards. As y'all know, anything that goes on in the theater, there is no place to go. People are out on the street, not enough lighting, all those elements. This relieves a lot of pressure for a lot of different uses, and I think that's one of the best things that came up out of this committee, and I hope y'all find that support as well. Relocate the stadium lights. Right above that, item H, we will stripe parking lot D, and that is for the band practice. And that, after talking, I know we've had discussion with the band directors, that seems to be a great solution for them in terms of being able to come right out, go to it, and use it. Their only concern was a little bit of noise factor, and we've dealt with that with some with the idea of putting in some sound walls to help with that. So I think that gives them a place to perfect their craft. Sidewalks between the field house and softball. All of this can't be done at once, obviously, but as we move on down, on M, we hope to relocate the soccer field up to where F building is right now, but F building has to be demoed first. So we can't move soccer until we get an opportunity to demo F, and then that opens up an area that we put new parking in, which is right across from the visitor stand, behind the softball field. Okay? So all of this kind of flows in a logical pattern when you look at it. It can't all be done at once, as we said, but we certainly feel like we have an opportunity to get it done. We will relocate the ROTC. This is on page 2. Relocate ROTC up to that same area. That's when the new visitor parking next to the softball fields would go in. All of this includes stormwater detention, of course. And then finally, as we start to move down, we're trying to figure out the best way to do concession and tickets and locker room for visitors and officials and all that. We wanted to have more seating on the visitor side because 7,400 seats is about 1,000 to 1,500 too low. You need to be 8,500 for a 5A, 6A type school. So we decided to raise that, increase the seating, use that space underneath for the room locations that we needed, build it to an 8,500 seat stadium, take care of the square footage needs we have, and do all of that without expanding room, but actually going up. And I won't take credit for that. I don't know who first came up with it. Best idea I thought we had, along with that Johnson Street parking. Questions?
So when you say go up with it, are we talking about demolishing the old one and rebuilding?
I think that's going to be really the most feasible way to do it. In order to have the space underneath, keeping the facade, the look of Memorial Stadium, but really starting from scratch, coming up on that side, because you're going to have to bring the lighting poles outside of the stadium anyway. And so you're doing quite a bit of construction. And you lose a little bit of parking there, but we're going to more than offset that. We're going to gain close to 300 parking spots by the time everything is said and done, even giving up that space on the visiting side. Sure. And then at the bottom, W and X, we kept coming back to the pool and the state of the pool and what needed to be improved, how to make it a competitive environment so that you could host the meets you need to host. And we opted to put it up top in that open area of land that's really not big enough for a different type of building. There's already parking adjacent to it that would make it perfect. You don't have to buy any land to move it. The architects have talked about using the existing area as an open environment that they would call well, they'll get to it in the next group, but basically a canopy, a type of environment where you could host different things on the campus. But we try to take care of everybody. That's difficult to do, but I think this is about as good a plan as we could get. And I believe if you can get this done, somebody's back here in 40 or 50 years going, holy cow, they actually saw far enough ahead. They repaired a complex and made it very, very functional for a long, long time. All right, that's all I've got. Carl Gurgis, who Bill Nelson said might have known some of the Truman stuff. I've known Carl a long time. He's going to talk to you about the Group 2 projects of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I get no respect. And I really don't expect it. Let me ask you to please go to Group 2 on your on the screen. Group 2 could be titled, "You Can Never Have Enough Land." And I want you to remember those 5 words. You can never have enough land. We'll come back to that. A key factor in Group 2, everything is contingent on acquiring the Little League property. The Little League property is actually on the far left, as you can see. There you go. Our committee met with, we have to acquire the property. It now belongs to the city of Alvin and to Alvin Little League. Alvin Little League owns Schroeder Field. The city of Alvin owns the rest of it. Our committee met in mid-March with the city of Alvin. Sorry about the throat. It's another age. Yeah, let me have that. Is that water? Pat was great all through this, and he continues to be great. Our committee met with City Manager Breland. We met with Economic Director Bueller. We met with City Parks Director Kalinsky and Adam Arindel. Adam wears two caps. He's on the City Council, and he's also president of Alvin Little League. Our recommendation was a land swap. We'll swap land that we have for land that you have, and we need your land. Pat designed a perfect, would you hand those out to him, please? Alvin Independent School District has a perfect property that if you took the overhead view of what you're getting right now would fit directly for the 7 Little League fields that are on that particular tract of land. The property in question is the property east of Alvin Junior High School. It borders South Street, Stapp Maxwell Boulevard. And if you take that picture as he has done, you can see how it just fits right on top of it. So we made that proposal to the city of Alvin. Our property has utilities. It has ingress and egress. You got easy street accessibility with South Street. You also have a retention pond of all retention ponds next door. The city's building it right now. And you also have parking that can be added on the left side, which is an area now owned by by Alvin Independent School District and is next to the administration area. So we had what we thought was a real good piece of property. The city of Alvin countered with a piece of property that they own in back of the YMCA. In other words, their contention is, well, if we need to move Alvin Little League, let's move them to our site that we own. Well, that's fine, and they may want to do that. We really, really don't care. We just need the property. So if they move it, that'll work out. The key question is, how do you finance a 7-park Little League complex with $10,000 in the bank? And that's exactly what Alvin Little League has. The city of Alvin would obviously be a suspect to come up with some financing. The private sector could be suspectable in that same area. In 1988, the Alvin Lions Club and the Alvin Rotary assisted in building what is now Lions Park. And a lot of the help came from the private sector. You had businesses in Alvin that committed $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. You had Monsanto, you had Amoco in those days. So you had a lot of help in 1988 to build what is now the Little League complex. 26 years later, Alvin is different. The majority of our people work there and sleep here. We have far larger, I guess you could say, national chains instead of the country community that we had. We've got Walmart, Home Depot, Office Depot, Walgreens, CVS, you name it. Those are great businesses, but to get corporate Walmart to come to Alvin and put their dollars to invest in a Little League park, that's not easy. It may happen. We haven't asked them. But I just want to present that to you, that it could be a potential problem. But the key thing is you need that land if you're going to expand. And remember, we said at the beginning, you can never have enough land. Another problem that we've got is select baseball. In 1988, almost every child that played baseball played Little League baseball. Today, you have select baseball teams that have Alvin youngsters that play in Spring, in Katy, in Baytown, you name it, because the parents want them to excel in baseball, and the select program is normally where they get it. So, again, we don't have the core playing families that would help, I don't think anyway, in financing a new Little League facility. If you think we've got problems, though, go to Friendswood. Friendswood is just like Alvin. Their football stadium is right in the middle of their city. Right in the middle of the residential area. Right now, they use Winsong Intermediate and Friendswood Junior High to literally bus people to the ball games on Friday night. And when Alvin plays at Friendswood, when any of the Creek schools play at Friendswood, their fans need to leave at 5 or 5:30 to get there and park at least a mile away from the park. So we really don't have as many problems as Friendswood. Again, you can't have enough land. Friendswood would love to have a little bit of our land over here. I don't want the Little League issue to be forgotten. It's on the back burner, and we understand that. The things that Bill pointed out to you, those are important. You've got a $8 million bond issue that we need to get started on, and I think you are in November. Those other things are extremely important. We pointed out that we've got a lot of committee members that are here tonight, and I think all of them would agree that we were united in our efforts to make sure that everything that you have in front of you tonight, that you're comfortable with, that fiscally it's responsible, and that you'll do your best to get it all accomplished in time. You can't do it overnight. I want to thank Pat Miller. Pat was with us the whole time. He helped us immensely. Anytime we had a question, Pat came to the forefront. We could call him at night. He'd answer the phone, say, "What do you need?" He knew who it was. Mike Bass and his staff were there every meeting. We had about 75 to 80% of the committee at every meeting, and that was good. And I also want to bring to the attention of Huckabee. Steve, you're here tonight. Steve and his people would ask questions. They didn't give us answers. They would say, "What do you want to do? Do you think this is in your best interest? What would you like for us to do?" I never heard them say, "You need to do this," or "This is going to be in your best interest." They were working for us, for the Alvin Independent School District. And I just think we ought to at least say thank you for doing what y'all did. You did a splendid job. You can never have enough land. Remember that. Let me close by saying this. When I was, I think, 4 years of age, that was a long time ago, I came in one day and my mother said, "I've got some news for you." I said, "What's that?" She said, "Well, we had to get rid of your horse." Now, Buck, you'll understand this. You're a rancher. And I said, "What do you mean you got rid of," I think his name was Trigger, something like that. And she said, "Well," I said, "your dad bought some land and he paid $25 an acre for it, but it included he had to give him the horse." And I was just very upset with that. In fact, I told Mother, I said, "Just get another daddy. I am tired of this." He gave away my horse. We got some other land later, and that deal was a pretty good deal. But keep this in mind, you can never have enough land. You got an opportunity if it presents itself, and I hope you will. We appreciate it very, very much. We enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun working with the school, working with everyone involved, and with others in the committee. I want to thank y'all for coming tonight and show us some support. Good luck to all of you, okay?
So Carl, if I give the city one of my horses, will they, you think that's the trade they're looking for?
You just never know. You put it on the market. Let's see what
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Does the board have any questions? It's a lot to take in, but this is an immense amount of work that y'all did. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next steps are these. We're going to take all of this and start with Huckabee and those guys and start putting actual plans together for every step of this. And then we'll lay out the financial plan about how we're going to go about doing that in certain steps. I think, Pat, we're at the point where we can put those documents out, and you want to kind of explain timelines?
Yes, absolutely. On the Group 1 portion of the plan, those things, we're moving forward with designing them. They have been approved, a number of them were approved as part of the bond referendum. Those items that are additional scope, will be developing probable costs for those to bring them back to present to the board for some decision-making on the additional items that are recommended. And then we'll continue to work on the Group 2 items that, again, are related to acquisition of additional land. So we intend to be at the May board meeting with some additional information and some some choices and options for the board. But the plan right now is that a significant number of those Group 1 items would actually will be drawn and will actually be, construction documents will be prepared, intending that as soon as this 2016 football season ends, that we would be able to start construction for those things that have been previously approved on the 2015 bond.
A large portion of this, the financial impact is going to be the pool, of which we've already had multiple conversations multiple times with the construction of the pool at Shadow Creek High School. We realized the shape of the pool at Alvin High School, and so we had spent some time looking at that pool building about a remodel, and I think the architects are going to say that, you know, that it's more cost effective to just relocate it and start over. And so, you know, as the numbers come together here, I think, you know, we're looking at those numbers, but you take the pool out of that number, and some of the additional costs are very affordable. We can stretch it over a couple of budget years, and I think that there's not going to be any problem at all finding the funds to complete the projects as they've been drawn.
All right. Thank you all very much again. We appreciate you doing all that hard work and working as a committee and coming up with these wonderful recommendations. All right, then, moving forward with the agenda, the next item is open forum. And Marianne tells me we don't have any open forum requests. All right. Okay. So we're moving to the consent agenda items, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them on here. Does anybody have any consent agenda items that y'all would like to pull?
I'd like to pull F.
F, okay. Is any other ones that y'all would like to pull? Then do I hear a motion to approve A, B, C, D, E, G, H, and I?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second so the first was by Ms. Tonini, the second was by Ms. Pickren. Then all in favor of approving consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, G, H, and I. Motion carries 6-0. So we have consent agenda item F that has been pulled, which is the request to consider out-of-state student travel. So in order to initiate any conversation, we need to get a first and a second. Is there a first? A motion to approve a first.
So moved.
First by Ms. Scheibel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Tonini. All right, then. Discussion, Ms. Montoya?
I just need to abstain from
All right,
voting
I
on
appreciate that. Is there any other discussion anybody would like to have about F? All right, then. I do, as a side note, we had lots of discussion during our workshop, and then another administrative staff are going to be reviewing the policies further to maybe make some additional recommendations. That's just a sidebar. That's no discussion for us, really. So we have a first and we have a second. Then all in favor of approving consent agenda item F, which is the request to consider approval of out-of-state travel. And any opposed? All right, then, and we have an abstain.
Yes, I have a son traveling on one of the trips. So.
All right, then, motion carries 5-0 with 1 abstention. All right, then, moving forward, the next item on the agenda is a request to consider approval of facility naming committee recommendations.
Board, I'm going to get Mr. Combs up again to walk us through this, as he was the one that directed this committee.
Well, trustees, this was a pleasure leading this this community-focused process, and I just would like to commend everyone in the community that nominated. We had more than 100 nominations related to facility names, and we had a committee that did extensive work over the course of a couple months, really evaluating, looking into each of these very well-deserving names prior to bringing a recommendation this evening. And so after the course of that process, the committee is making a recommendation for 4 specific facilities in the district this evening. 2 of those are campuses, and 2 of those are facilities that are under construction currently. The first recommendation is for the rebuild of Alvin Elementary. And as you know, that the plan for that facility is to move that to a different location and reconstruct that with expanded capacity. And so the proposed name from the committee for that facility is Betty K. Nelson Elementary. So Ms. Nelson was just as you can tell by the response in the audience this evening, a very well-respected educator in Alvin ISD who served as a district teacher of the year, served more than 20 years in the district, and then was incredibly involved in the community even after her time at the campus, serving as the leader of the Library League and other things like that. So just an incredibly deserving recipient to be considered for nomination. Additionally, we have a recommendation for the elementary located in the Shadow Creek Ranch development, and the proposed name from the committee for that facility is Shirley Dill Brothers Elementary. I think we're doing pretty good so far with recommendations. So, what could not be said about Shirley Brothers? Just a fixture, a legacy in this community. Personally, I owe a debt of gratitude for all that she has done to assist me professionally, but she has just meant the world to so many different community members, organizations. Also a teacher of the year in the district before she moved into the director of public information position. And one thing that was really noted about her service to the district was that as the district expanded and as communities were developed along 288 out west, she was really a bridge and a liaison to bring the communities together. And so the committee felt it extremely appropriate for Alvin ISD to name a facility in that area of the district to recognize her for her contributions. The next recommendation, we'll see if we can go 3 for 3 here, is the Alvin ISD Career and Technical Education Center, which the Phase 2 was passed by the recent bond and is currently under construction. And the recommendation for that facility is the J.B. Hensler Career and Technical Education Center. All right. Appreciate the support from everyone here this evening. So Mr. Hensler, if you didn't know him, as many that are here this evening did and still do, he served for 33 years as a trustee for Alvin Independent School District, was a pharmacist and a fixture of this community, a community leader, but at his time of retirement from the board, he was the longest serving trustee in the state of Texas for that time. So an immense amount of contribution to this community in this district. And so the committee thought it very appropriate, considering his vocation, his interest in vocation and career opportunities, to honor him with naming the Career and Technical Education Center after him. And finally, the last facility that we have is the Ag facility across from Fairview Junior High, and the recommendation of the naming committee is the Bobby G. Verdine Agricultural Science Center. All right, 4 for 4, so I'm feeling pretty confident in the recommendations of the committee this evening. Mr. Verdine was an educator that spent his life in this district serving children. He started off as an ag teacher in his career in education, and he served as the principal at Mark Twain Primary, as well as R.L. Stevenson Elementary, and just an individual that has gained the respect of an entire community. He served as the acting superintendent during times of transition, and following his professional time here in the district, he gave back in the form of serving as a trustee as well, just to serve children. So his heart is with children and serving this district, and so likewise the committee felt that he was very appropriate for a facility. Are there any questions?
Any questions? No. All righty then.
I would like to thank everyone for their support this evening.
And a thank you to the naming committee for your hard work. We appreciate that.
So obviously, our recommendation is to approve the facility names as presented by the committee.
All righty then. Do I hear a motion to approve the facility naming committee recommendations as presented?
So move.
First by Mr. Humbert, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Matoy. Are there any questions or comments? All right then, all in favor of approving the facility name committee recommendations as approved? Motion carries 6-0.
One last all.
Aw. All right, next on the agenda is a request to consider approval of employments.
Board, in your package, you have a list of several employments for the upcoming school year. Many of those are specifically changes from campus to campus, specifically Shadow Creek. Our recommendation is that we accept these recommendations as presented.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the requested personnel items as presented?
So moved.
First by Ms. Pickren, is there a second? Second by Mr. Humbert. Are there any questions? All right, then, all in favor of approving the requested personnel items as presented? Motion carries 6-0. Carol, could you walk us through the list tonight?
I do.
And help us with that?
So for the head coaches, we want to go ahead and announce those that we're just, we have Dominique Baxter, and she's going to be, Dominique, if you want to stand, or she's going to be our head dance drill instructor. We also have Justin Heller, and I believe Justin's right up here. He's going to be our head boys soccer coach. They show Whitney Bolton, and Whitney's going to be our head volleyball coach at Shadow Creek. Nicholas Kinsey, he's currently at Alvin High School. He'll become a Shark as our head girls soccer coach. We have Coach McFarland, John McFarland. He's going to be our head baseball coach at Shadow Creek High School, former Jacket. We have LaToya Mishaw, and she's going to be our head girls basketball coach at Shadow Creek. We have Katie Mitchell, and Katie's going to be our head swimming coach at Shadow Creek High. We have David President, Mr. President. And David's going to be our head basketball coach at Shadow Creek High School. And then we also have a couple of others on the list. Is that okay? They're not head coaches, but they're very, very important to our Teams department in our district. We have a new Assistant Director of Teams Records and Management Systems, Ms. Laza. Where's Katie Laza? And then we have Assistant Director of Data and Continuous Improvement, Mr. Rabelais, Don Rabelais. Mark Twain Primary for us, or Mark Twain Elementary. Is there anyone I missed that was on the list that maybe is here, new employee?
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. And welcome, everybody.
Yes.
Let's see here. 260. All right, then next on the agenda is a request to consider approval to extend term, renew probationary, and termination at end of probationary contracts.
Board, in your package, you have a list of 42 pages of contracts. And in those contracts, I do want to point out that, in my opinion, some people that are very, very, probably most important to the district, and that is our classroom teachers and their contracts. And so it's my privilege to recommend that these teachers, we extend their contract.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the professional contract recommendations as presented?
So moved.
First by Ms. Tonini, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pickren. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, then, all in favor to approve the professional contract recommendations as presented? All opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right, then, motion carries 5-0 with one abstention. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Right, then, next on the agenda is a request to consider approval of administrative appointments. Let's get to it just a second. Yeah.
We're scrolling through. We had 42 pages.
42 pages we have to scroll through, sorry. All right, then, first on, so would you like me to just introduce them individually?
It's up to you.
I'll do the flash sheet, and then I'll do it. You can do it on the phone. All right, first on the agenda is the Alvin primary principal.
Board, it's our pleasure tonight to recommend for the Alvin primary principal, Carla Kling from Alvin Elementary School, assistant principal.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion to approve Carla Kling as the principal for Alvin Primary?
So moved.
First by Mr. Humbut, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Scheibel. Is there any questions or comments? All right, then, hearing none, all in favor of approving Carla Kling as the principal for Alvin Primary? Motion carries 6-0. Congratulations. All right, next on the agenda is the Alvin High School Assistant Principal.
Board, it's my privilege tonight to recommend for that open assistant principal's position at Alvin High School, Ms. Tanya Patterson, currently the science department head at Alvin High School.
Thank you. All right, then, do I hear a motion to approve Tanya Patterson as assistant principal at Alvin High School?
So moved.
First by Ms. Tanini, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Metoyer. Are there any questions or comments? All right, then, hearing none, all in favor to approve Tanya Patterson as the assistant principal at Alvin High School? All right, then, motion carries 6-0. Congratulations.
Ms. Patterson might deserve some extra pay for this year because she had that Gilcrease boy in chemistry. So.
All right, the next position is the Shadow Creek High School Assistant Principals, and there are two, if I'm not mistaken, not three, that we're going to be presenting, voting on tonight?
That's correct, just two.
All right.
So we want to do them one at a time or
Sure.
have them both at the same
Do
time?
them one at a
Okay,
time.
all right. So the first recommendation we would like to make for the Shadow Creek High School Assistant Principal is Cammie Day, currently the head science teacher at Manville Junior High.
Do I hear a motion to approve Cammie Day as an assistant principal at Shadow Creek High School?
So moved.
First by Mr. Humbut. Is there a second, Ms. Pickering? Second. Thank you. Is there any questions or comments? All right, then, hearing none, all in favor of approving Cammie Day as an assistant principal at Shadow Creek High School? Motion carries 6-0. Congratulations.
Yeah. Okay, and our second recommendation tonight for the Shadow Creek High School Assistant Principal is Dr. Christopher Brazel. He presently teaches on the York campus, and I believe he has some family members with him here as well. So,
Thank you for coming. All right, then, do I hear a motion to approve as an assistant principal at Shadow Creek High School? Let's see here, make sure I'm getting your title right. Yes, Dr. Christopher Brazel.
So moved.
First by Ms. Tanini, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Scheibel. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, then all in favor of approving Dr. Christopher Brazel as an assistant principal at Shadow Creek High School? Motion carries 6-0. Congratulations. All right, the final administrative position that we're approving tonight is the Shadow Creek High School Associate Principal.
and as you've seen all along, all of these have been people who have been part of Alvin ISD. And so when it comes time for the associate at Shadow Creek High School, they went through several steps to complete this and found out that really what they wanted was sitting with them in the process all along. So our recommendation is Susie Roberts to be the associate principal at Shadow Creek High School.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve Susie Roberts as the associate principal for Shadow Creek High School?
So moved.
First by Ms. Tanini, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Humbert. Is there any questions or comments? All right, then, hearing none, all in favor of approving Susie Roberts as the associate principal for Shadow Creek High School? Motion carries
Board.
6-0. Congratulations. That's right, she is. All right, Dr. Gilchrist, your superintendent's report is next.
Absolutely. If you will notice, April is Autism Awareness Month, and the second annual Autism Awareness Walk took place on April the 2nd. And I actually went by there during that time and watched that. And there was it says that support for our 200+ families. I would say there were 300 people walking at the stadium that day. It was a great day and a great event. Coach B, who was here last month for another thing. Y'all know Coach B. He has taken on the Alvin ISD Nature and Science Learning Center as a project, and with cooperation with Mr. Bolton and his department, and also in partnership with the Keep Alvin Beautiful organization, Alvin ISD Athletics and many others. They have gone in there and completely renovated, restored that facility from an overgrown facility to something very functional. I believe they have everything from plants to ducks that are there. And so Coach B will be here. Will he be here next month? I know on the April 23rd, there will be a garden tour at that part of the Alvin Garden Tour will include the Alvin ISD Nature Center. That's not the only part of it. I don't want to speak out of turn, but Coach B's done a great job with his students and with that program. Savannah Lakes had HEB Math Night, and they had all their families come to the Pearland HEB Plus. And at the end of that night, over 500 students and teachers had attended that night, and they walked through and completed many curriculum and academic exercises, as well as they got to meet the HEB buddy and take their picture with him. So it's a great night. Mark your calendars for May 26th. And you need to save that date for our annual employee recognition ceremony. We had a few changes last year, and Tamika has assured me that we have even more surprises coming this year. So as always, they will put together a great program. 5 o'clock reception, 6 o'clock ceremony. They did tell me I could not use my selfie stick this year. They had retired it. So, yeah.
That's not fair.
I know, right?
Not right.
The Alvin ISD Book Bus Book Drive is underway from now, from the 11th to the 29th. I know Anna's here, and Sheila Olson from the foundation, and they are talking about how to go about that. I just would like to say to especially the administrators in this room that our board president has challenged the school board and the cabinet to be a major player in filling this book bus up with books. And so I would also like to extend that challenge to you as well. And I know on your campuses you're working hard to do that. But it's a great project. And if you need specific questions answered about what they specifically need, please, you can visit with Anna and she'll be glad to help you.
If we're going to challenge, I'm going to put the first 200 up to all the other board members for it. Sheila? Yeah. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Don't give it back. You thought you didn't let me get close to it.
1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Anybody? Thank you for that.
The last piece of our my report tonight is our talking about our community partners. At your places, you will find copies of these last few pages of the report that talk about all the things that that we do. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but when we started putting it together, it really is amazing the amount of things that we partner with our community, from Alvin Community College with the campus tours and then our own Alvin ISD CTE Center Career Days, our reality fair, the Upward Bound, the amount of scholarships and dual credit opportunities that are afforded our kids. Keep going. The curriculums that we interact with, such as the HEB Math Night and the Math Night at Stanton's, our health fair that has grown to be tremendously large, our mentoring programs, our advocacy partnerships, from the ARC of Gulf Coast all the way through many others. Can't read that far. Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead to the next one. Our foundation, of course, our business partnerships. I think there's ENEOS and TDEC, and there's a few others listed in that group. Our communities and schools and ACE programs. We can't say enough about what they do for our kids on a day-to-day basis. The Head Start program. The Youth Roundtable that the Alvin Manville Area Chamber of Commerce puts together. If you've never had a chance to go to that, that's a beautiful thing to see. All the people that are involved with helping youth sitting around the table trying to come up with answers to problems about how we can address things. Our partnership with ACC and KACC specifically, some of the things they do for us, especially on the football side. And then the Alvin Family Community Center, that program in and of itself is amazing, all the things that they offer. Again, nowhere near an exhaustive list, but when we began to put them together, Daniel, is a little overwhelming, wasn't it, to understand all the things that go on. And those are, I just said pieces of words, pieces of sentences to describe those, and each of those could be 2-hour presentations to go into all the things that they do. And I believe that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is
Wait. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Daniel, go ahead.
President Harris, we have a late arriving student that is going to have some artwork displayed in the Texas Capitol. Do you think we can find a moment to recognize him this evening?
Nicole, do you want to do an award?
Sure, absolutely. All right. Mr. Imran Sheikh is here with us this evening. He is a 3rd grader at York Elementary. How about a round of applause for Imran? And this young man will have his artwork showcased at the Texas Art Exhibition Association's Youth Art Month State Capitol exhibit, which is allowing student work from across the state to be shared in Austin. And we are so appreciative of how he will represent Alvin ISD in Austin, Texas. Congratulations, Imran. All right. Yeah, come on. Don't be shy. We got to get the right picture. Thank you. All right, thank you. Congratulations, Imran.
Well, that was fun. Is there any future agenda items? All right, then, hearing none, we need to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Mr. Humbert. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Metoyer. All in favor of the motion to adjourn? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, board.